Jive Hive Jeff from Two Hacks Garage. Well, you've seen a lot of cylinder head videos, reviews, porting, everything, polishing. And the last one we did, Kyle and I did the cleanup work on the bowls. We did the porting, polishing, the light polishing, I should say, on that. And while we were pretty happy with the results, he had a really good idea. He said, I wonder if we can find something that's a lot more smooth as far as getting the exhaust ports on these extremely smooth as much as we could. We were happy with what we did, but we decided, you know what, let's take it another step. So we're going to get there in a minute, but I just did want to say this is part 2 of that video. The port work is done. Some of the polishing is done, and now we're on to the fine polishing of this. We're going to primarily focus on the exhaust ports on these and probably primarily focus on just cleaning up the intake ports on this just a little bit more. So with that, we're going to go ahead and explain a little bit what we got going on, and we're going to go in and really do some polishing. So we will see you really soon. All right, well, I tell you what, guys, here's what we got going on right now. As you saw, Kyle and I, ported just a real mild port on these exhaust sides, started cleaning up with some sanding stuff. We had started doing that with the 120 grit Dremel drums. We were wearing those out pretty quick, not too bad. They actually did work pretty well. And we actually progressed to the Dremel 120 grit flapper wheel. This thing actually worked very, very, very well. Off camera, Kyle and I were talking a little bit and said, hey, I wonder what kind of results we can get of smoothing these out just a little bit more if we had something that was a little bit finer. Like I said, on the exhaust side, we are trying to get that really smooth. And we have been going up in here, and there is a ridge, and we've been turning that just a little bit to get it nice and smooth. We did remove a decent amount of material, nothing crazy. Like I said, I'm not an expert at this, but we are just mildly porting these. So I went to the hardware store yesterday, and while I was there picking up some more sanding stuff, I came across this. It's a Dremel extra fine finishing abrasive. It's like a little buffer wheel on here. It's 320 grit. So what I want to do is give this a try to see if we can actually make these a little bit more smooth. So with that, what we're going to do is we're going to try it out, see what happens, and if it's the results that we're looking for, we're going to do it to all of them. I still have quite a bit of head work left to do on these, taking my time. That's really important. But I just wanted to show you kind of a next step on this and something Kyle and I had discussed. So you know what? Heads are apart. Decided we're going to give it a shot. So I will see you soon. All right, well, as you can see, that method actually worked quite well. The abrasive wheel, if you want to call it, or disc or pad, whatever they call it from Dremel, yielded really good results. As we talked in the video when we started porting this, we want the exhaust side on this as smooth as we can. That is just to really help with the flow of getting those gases out. But on the intake side, it's not going to be as smooth because you want the fuel atomized correctly. So as you can see here, this is what it looked like after the 120 here. It looks kind of ugly, but it's actually functional. For an intake side, this, like as Kyle pointed out, this feels like the casting, almost like the sand casting from the factory. So that's not bad if this was an intake side. But on the exhaust side, we want it very, very, very smooth. As you can see, this is extremely smooth now. I mean, it is very smooth. You can see in that picture there, compared to there, I think the results speak for themselves. And if you could see, I was going in there as deep as I could, getting things polished out, and went into the bowl itself and did the same thing. So I'm going to call that done on the exhaust port. So I'm pretty happy with that. Took about 10 minutes-ish, if you want to call it that. But yeah, actually, the results speak for themselves. So, tell you what, we're going to get working on everything else because we still got a whole lot of work to do. See you soon. All right. Well, I went ahead and got all that polished out. Like I said, I know I'm repeating myself a lot, but it's important on the exhaust side to get that smooth for better flow when all those gases go boom and go out, but you do want to leave the intake side a little rough. So if you saw in the video how smooth the exhaust ports came out, and you can see in here, these are just as smooth. And if you look down in there, yeah, it is actually really smooth. Look at the intake side. It's like the sand casting. It's a little bit smoother than that, but it's going to serve the purpose of exactly what we need. So you know what? I'm actually going to call this cylinder head done. Yeah, I'm pretty happy. Really smooth throughout all these and these bowls. You just got to be really careful. You want to stay away from the seats with everything with that. Jimmy did tell me, hey, just in case we nick it, he's going to finish these anyway. But yeah, so if you just take your time with this, really be careful, and you'll get the desired results. Don't know if these are going to flow, but I can guarantee you they're going to be better than out of the box, and they're going to be way better than stock. Just as a side note on this, if you ever want to check out like really, really, really professional porting and expertise when it comes to doing this stuff with Ford heads, go check out Terry Grover. The guy is an absolute genius, and if I ever had the chance to have a set of heads done by him in the future, I'd be all over it. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and get to working on the rest of this stuff. I might go in here and just clean this up a little bit more. I'm kind of a perfectionist. That's from my machine shop guy. But yeah, so I'm going to call this one done, and we're just going to get working on everything else. Still got a whole lot more work to do. And once everything's said and done, I'll do a wrap-up video. See you soon. Well, that's it on polishing the exhaust ports on this. As you can see, I was going through quite a bit of the Dremel 320 grit finishing abrasive buffs. I kind of knew that was going to happen. They're pretty soft, but you know, as you saw in that first video where we did clean it up, after a discussion, Kyle and I are like, you know what? Let's take it a step further. So that's what I did. He had a really good idea on that. So once again, two brains are better than one. Yeah, I'm happy with it. Cleaned it up. They're radiused out pretty well. We did open them up quite a bit compared to what they were out of the box. Like I said, this is a budget build. I've got a lot of great feedback, a lot of advice. I'm just kind of going off of what I know, trying to research from what people have told me and all that. So yeah, these Speedmaster heads are getting there. Kind of the next step is we're going to clean up the exhaust side or the intake side of this just a little bit more, and same with the intake, just to get it kind of that grit where we need it. So with that, appreciate you guys watching. Lengthy process, I know, but you know what? It's worth it. While you have it apart, you might as well do it. And in most cases, you know, you're going to have good results. These are pretty smooth. Like we said earlier in the video, on your intake side, you want it a little bit more rough so the fuel atomizes. I know there's a lot of debate about this. I'm just going off what I've researched, what my machinist has said, and so on. But on the exhaust side, you do want it to be smooth so it has those gases able to flow out as much as they can without any obstruction. So yeah, that is how you polish up the exhaust ports on these aluminum heads. With that, I got a lot more work to do, a little bit tired. So guess what, guys? I'll see you tomorrow.